you mentioned connecting with 10 new people a day. Is that part of your framework? Is that part of what you're teaching your clients? Like, hey, you make sure it's 10 people, or where did that number come from?
Yeah. So this is actually the cool thing about my job, right? As a full-time podcaster and podcast coach, is that I get to spend all of my time coaching other podcasters and learning and adapting my teachings, right? And learning from teaching. And so what I have learned through over a year of the accelerator and over 100 clients is that when you break that down, I used to break it, only say 15 minutes per day of targeted daily engagement, right? That was it. Put in your 15 minutes. But what I found is that some people would sometimes log a really non-impactful 15 minutes and be more worried about hitting the time and more worried about engaging with people everywhere. So the 2 minutes on TikTok, 2 minutes on Instagram, 2 minutes on Twitter. We're like, no. That's not what we need to do. And what I found is that what I tell people to shoot for is 10 meaningful interactions a day, right? So that doesn't always mean 10 new people a day. But what we look for is 10 meaningful interactions. And that's intentionally not quantitative. It's a qualitative thing to say a meaningful interaction. What does a meaningful interaction look like? It's being in a Facebook group and actually having a conversation with someone where you help them without asking them to check out your podcast or your blog or linking them to your website, right? That's a meaningful interaction. And they're like, wow, thank you for that. It's actually having a conversation with someone who is a dream guest of yours in their comments or in the DMs without pitching them to be on your podcast. This is what most people miss. They're like, oh my gosh, this is my chance. No, it's not. If you do it right, you'll have way more chances, right? So for me, a dream guest of Grow the Show would be Pat Flynn, right? Legendary podcaster, Smart Passive Income. And one of my favorite things is to interact with Pat online and not pitch him on my podcast and not be like, hey, Pat, when can you have me on the show? Like, it's just having an actual interaction. And so Pat Flynn isn't listening to Grow the Show, but we have had several meaningful interactions on social media where I know that when the day comes that I do pitch him and his team to be on Grow the Show, he's going to recognize my name as someone that he's interacted with in a meaningful way on social media without me pitching him for his time, right? So it goes in both directions. And so that's what we shoot for. And what I found, just again, through coaching more than 100 people through this in a really high touch way, and then coaching thousands more for free in the free Grow the Show Facebook group, really aiming for that 10 meaningful interactions each day, a comment on a post, a DM, like whatever it might be, but it's just truly adding value, law of reciprocity, giving without asking for anything in return. And then when the time does come for you to ask for something, for you to ask them to check out your podcast, for you to ask that dream guest to be on your show, for you to ask that journalist to do a story on your podcast, you'll have already banked so much social capital with them, and you'll be a person to them and not yet another person who is just asking, for free press or free publicity, or for free attention. And so that's where the 10 meaningful interactions each day comes from.